Hey, I'm outside today, Tuesday in May, looking at some of the articles I've gone through on my research, and more of a political angle today just because there's a lot going on in the news. So let me run through the top 5 research pieces I've read this morning as I try to formulate what I'm going to write about on Thursday. So it's an interesting couple of days for sure, and there's a lot going on in this world. So the first article I read was from a guy I've met and talked to over the years is Douglas Holtz-Eakin over at AAF, and he writes a really nice piece. You can get it, again, all of these URLs you're going to be able to get on the YouTube description, so check those out. But he's got a great primer today on the PPP effectiveness and how big it was. And I forgot it was like almost $800 billion that they had created to help on a short-term basis firms that were negatively impacted by COVID and the shutdown. So you're going to want to check that out. It was highly effective. They got $500 billion out just really quickly. And again, this was to help firms overcome the next 6 weeks of keeping people on the payroll and staying in business. So that's an interesting one, and whether or not we should continue those programs and fund them again, given that we're not in a crisis as far as a shutdown goes. So you want to check that out. The next thing I was looking at was from Politico's playbook. If you don't have that email, you should get it every day. It's fantastic. You can get it online. But they talk about the interesting developments that are going on within the Republican Party in the House as they vote to oust Representative Liz Cheney from Wyoming this week over her fracas with former President Trump. And it's interesting how it may cost Kevin McCarthy, who's the current minority leader for the House Republicans, his job, because there are other Republicans within the House that are not quite all on board on supporting this move. So you're going to want to check that out. And what's interesting to me when I look at that is just, it should be a layup for Republicans to take back the House. All they got to take back is 4 seats in 2022. And as everyone knows, during an off year after an election, it's very typical for the party of the president to lose seats. And certainly that's the case in the House. So we'll see if this Republicans screw this up. I'm not optimistic that they'll be able to do that or not. We'll see what happens, but it'll be fascinating. I did take a quick peek at the Feds, or the 2s 10s, or the 10s 2s on the treasuries, the 10 minus the 2-year yield for treasury securities, just to see what the yield curve looked like. It's extraordinarily steep. And that just tells you how crazy easy policy is right now. I got that from the St. Louis Fed. You can look it up, check it out. It just underscores how much easing is in process right now from a number of different sources, not only the Federal Reserve, but obviously the federal government. Then I took a look at the Wall Street Journal has an interesting article on credit card debt and how it's being paid down dramatically by consumers. And I want to say that there was it was down 2% in February and 14.5% total credit card debt from last year. And that's a huge amount. So in other words, what's going on here? Well, with all those $1,400 paychecks that were given out, or stimulus checks that were given out, not paychecks, but stimulus checks that were given out, consumers did the smart thing. They said, we may not get another round of this, and I got credit card debt. Let's pay that down. And so that's why I'm concerned, like when I see JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon said there's $2 trillion worth of revenge spending money in savings that's out there that could be spent. I'm a little bit skeptical about that because I think consumers change their behavior over time. And certainly I think back to the 1930s and how that changed, decades worth of spending in the United States. And I think that's what we're going to see here in the United States as well. We had the global financial crisis, and then we had obviously the COVID shutdown. That scars people's memories, especially millennials. So let's keep that in mind when we're looking at that $2 trillion in savings. Moving on to that, I ended up at the South China Morning Post, believe it or not, because I was looking at the tech sell-off that's been going on in China and in the Hang Seng Index. It's pretty extraordinary. There's some of these stocks that are down 25%. And one of the things that came out just overnight was the dramatic rise in producer prices in China. They were up 6.8%. And obviously China imports a lot of iron ore and copper and all of these things. So they're getting hurt by this dramatic rise in commodity prices. So I'm thinking maybe China is the first central bank and maybe government together that begins a tightening round to slow things down. So those are some of the things that are going on that are fascinating to me. And we look tomorrow for Wednesday's CPI to see if that gets reflected, any of these big numbers. I did just really quickly listen to Victor Schvetz. He was on Odd Lots on Bloomberg, one of my favorite podcasts. And I love Victor. He's such a smart guy. He put out a great book last year. But he talked about CPI not only going up 3%, but 4%, maybe even 5% over the next year into 2022, and that the Fed will kind of sit on their hands and not react to it. My feeling is, wow, if we see 5% CPI, there's going to be big problems in the economy, and the Fed is going to be under tremendous pressure. The markets will move well faster than the Fed when it comes to interest rates. All right, that's it for Tuesday. Thanks for watching. You can get all my research at andrewbush.com as we lead up to Thursday. I've got a big speech today. I'm talking to Meridian Link and about 2,000 of their clients. I'm really excited about that, so it should be a lot of fun. Thanks so much.